Hey guys, it's Logan Freeman with the LiveFree Investors Podcast. I interview investors and business owners who share investment advice so you too can live free. Today I'm talking to Kris Koenig. Kris, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, Logan, I'm a wealth advisor here in Kansas City with Prime Capital Investment Advisors. My team and I, we primarily work with individual investors who find value in a plan, frankly, and utilizing our ID process, we look at all aspects of a client's financial picture and try to put a plan together for them that is dynamic and changes as their life changes.
Awesome. And so when you think about that, what differentiates you from other folks is you do work in the real estate space a little bit. So talk to us about how your advisory firm is a little bit different and how you might be able to add that asset allocation for folks that maybe other advisors don't really work in.
Sure. I like to say our firm's kind of like a law firm in the sense we're all advisors here, just as a law firm has a bunch of attorneys, but they've all got their own specialty or niche, right? You've got the bankruptcy attorney, criminal. Well, here we've got guys that are really good at corporate 401ks, others that are really good at setting up your IRA. I work in the commercial real estate space, particularly in the 1031 exchange area. And so I help a lot of clients when they've got maybe leftover boot money or they can't find a deal or they're just looking to be more passive. We have some what we use DSTs or Delaware Statutory Trusts that are easy to help people fill that need if they need it.
Absolutely. A very valuable tool for sure. One of the things that I always hear from my investors are, hard timelines with their 1031 exchanges, not finding the right property and feeling like they were rushed throughout the process. So it's always great to have an advisor that can utilize that boot or even just the full amount for a 1031 exchange so folks can be actually passive. So that's really great. What would you say the best thing about being a business owner is, Kris?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, I'm a big fan of hard work, and I think a lot of times when you have that 9 to 5, that's great for some people, but I'm kind of a 24/7 guy.
Yeah.
And so, you got to keep working. I just really enjoy helping people. And at the end of the day, this job gives me that ability. I mean, I am a business owner. This is my business. Prior to this, I was a owner of a retail clothing chain for 12 years. Was very good for most of those years. But with that experience, I learned that, when you own a business, you're all in it, right?
Yes.
I mean, you live and breathe it. There's no vacation really. Even when you are on vacation, you're working.
Yep.
And so for me, a lot of my clients are going to be those business owners or C-suite executives that are so focused that they forget about themselves sometimes.
Sure.
And so that happened to me. I forgot to, put my money in the Roth and everything, over the years as I was focused on other things. And so for me to be a business owner, helping other business owners, that just speaks volumes to being able to help them and make sure they have a good plan in place for themselves, not just their company.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that. And it's important to be able to zoom out of a business when you're working so headfirst into it all the time and really be strategic. So it's important to have folks like yourself on that team. So I'm curious because keeping up with the current opportunities and trends in the marketplace can be a challenge, especially with when we're going through times like right now. So, how do you stay up to date on kind of current trends and opportunities?
Yeah, as I'm sure there's a lot of noise out there, right? I mean, anywhere you go, there's information constantly. Some of it's legit, some of it's not. You got to filter through it.
Sure.
And I think at the end of the day, that's the hardest part is kind of doing your due diligence and making sure you actually have quality information. Because if you run with something and it ends up not being true, well, that could hurt me, my reputation, but it could also hurt my clients because if I'm like, listen, it's a great investment, here's why. And then, it may not be. It may be 6 months, it may be 6 years down the road before we figure out it was not what we thought it was.
Right.
And so at our firm, we have a team of investment advisory committee, CFAs, CFPs. They're digging through all these kind of deals, even if it's just for, an IRA type transaction or if it's a 1031 exchange. We're putting in the due diligence and making sure that, we're fact checking everything. In today's world, it's pretty easy to fact check, but at the same time, there's so much junk out there too that it makes it more difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree. So, what's the best advice that you've received as a business owner, Kris?
That was one of the questions I kind of thought about for a while, and I came up with just a very simple phrase: "Do it."
Okay, I love it.
When I speak back to in my clothing store, I was 24 years old. I didn't know anything about retail. I should have never. If my past self came to me today and said, "Hey, Kris, should I do this?" I'd be like, "No, don't do it." Right? Like, you didn't have a business plan, you don't have any retail experience, and I just did it. But
you did it. All right, Kris, what's the best advice that you've received as a business owner?
Yeah, that was one of the questions I think I thought the most of and wanted to come up with, something insightful and great. And it really came down to two words: do it.
Yeah.
I guess maybe like Nike, right? Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. When I opened my first business at 24, I knew nothing about retail. Everyone was like, "What are you doing? You're crazy." And they were right. I was.
Sure.
But I learned a lot. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I guarantee you that's one of the best ways to learn. Once you make that mistake, you'll never make it again, especially when it costs you money.
That's right.
And so it could be an expensive way to learn sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you've got an idea, something you're passionate about, you want to do it. Now that's not saying don't do any planning, but I see so many people, they talk something to death, they over plan. And it's like, if you just would have done it, you probably would have been all right.
Absolutely. Great advice. Dwight D. Eisenhower once said that plans are useless, but the process of planning is indispensable. Yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. You have to take action to be able to know what to do next. So that's great advice. This is a social show. And so this is your opportunity to promote somebody on the show that you think the listeners would be interested to learn more about their business. So what other successful business owners like yourself should be on the LiveFree podcast?
Yeah, and that was another one I was thinking a lot. And as I've talked to, business owners over the last month, especially, one thing that kind of keeps coming up is a lot of people didn't understand the insurance they had for their company. Yeah. Loss of revenue. They're like, well, what's that mean? I don't understand it. And so as I was thinking of someone that may be valuable for, your listeners to hear from or talk to would be Beck Johnson.
Okay.
He's a great guy, works for Walnut Risk Management. And I thought, that's somebody that, business, personal, commercial, real estate, whatever, if you don't have protection, you don't have anything. And so I think a lot of people didn't know what they had.
Yep.
And so it's good to know what you have when things like this come up.
That's a great call out. And Beck and I know each other well, so I will get him on the show. Thank you for that. Sure. All right. So this is the most important question of the podcast that I did not prep you for, Kris. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's see what you got.
All right, man. It's the way that I live my life. It's the way that I built a business. And the question is, what's the best advice on how you live free?
Well, again, living free for me is, being my own boss, being the guy who makes the decisions, when it comes to, my personal life, my business life. Obviously my wife and we make decisions together. I don't tell her what to do. She probably tells me more.
You mean that's not how that works? That's not how that works?
Yeah. But no, for me, living free is, being your own man. And, it doesn't mean I can't get along well with others and work with others, because I love teamwork. I love having great partners. But at the end of the day, I love the freedom of, making my own decisions, going out and doing what I know needs to be done.
Yep.
I think you hear from so many people that work someplace and they have great ideas and no one listens to them. And they get frustrated with that job and they quit and they go to the next one, and it just keeps happening. So
that's right.
For me, living free is, doing what you need to do, what you think's best for you and your family, and going out and doing it.
Awesome. Spoken like a true business owner, man. I really appreciate that. Hey, this is the Logan Freeman with the LiveFree Investors Podcast, where I interview investors and business owners that they share their own advice so you too can live free. For more insights and ideas on how you can live free, connect with myself and Kris Koenig on LinkedIn. He will be called out on this post. Kris, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Logan. Thanks for having me. Take care, bud.
Yeah. Until next time, live free.